66 interviews in 8 different rooms. That's like over 500 total at this madhouse of an event, SEC Media Days, here at the Omni Hotel in Dallas. First time in Dallas, and I like to torture myself, I guess. So for some reason I decided to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, take a 5 a.m. flight into Dallas, and this stuff goes so fast. You wake up or you look up and it's over. And you've just been scrambling, uploading videos, writing stories, managing our team, all that stuff, which go to HawgSports.com if you want all the coverage from SEC Media Days. We're walking through right now. We're on the 3rd floor of the Omni Dallas Hotel. This is Radio Row here. I like to give everybody a good look at what's going on. We'll show you guys the main media room. So they've wrapped everything up. I believe Kentucky was last today. Arkansas obviously went today, and we'll talk about Sam Pittman and some of my predicted order of finishes and stuff. So this is the main media room here. For those of you who haven't gotten a look at how that, maybe you've seen it on TV, but you didn't get this kind of look at it. The ESPN cameras are here. This is where SEC Nation is set up over there. They're still going. They still have Mark Stoops. So there's still some stuff going on. All these people working. I don't want to disturb them by talking too much, but they got Paul Feinbaum on right over here. So that's kind of how this setup goes. A lot of cameras, people still working. So I got a flight here in just a little bit, which has been delayed. It was supposed to leave in just a few minutes, but of course it gets delayed. We got the man, Brandon Marcelo, in here working. What's up, Brandon?
Not much, just about to post a Greg Sankey interview.
All right, y'all look forward to that on
Very
24/7. You been here the whole time?
Yeah, Sunday night. Heading out
This is the first time I've seen Brandon.
Yeah, heading out tonight. We might be on the same flight, or are you leaving soon?
Yeah, I know. It was supposed to be a 4:40 and it's moved to 6:42.
Okay, I'm leaving at 8:40.
8:40?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, at least it's direct.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're
All
exactly right.
Good to see you, buddy. All right, Brandon Marcelo, an Arkansas treasure, writes nationally for 24/7 Sports. He's covered Mississippi State, he's covered Arkansas, of course, covered Auburn, and now does 24/7 national stuff. So hit the big time with Brandon Marcelo. Great guy. All right, so this is where everybody eats right here. Nothing too special. I will say today, I walked in, so I got here at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I walked in, and I know a few tricks that Nick Saban doesn't know yet, because Nick Saban got denied because he didn't have his credentials on. Well, they didn't open credentialing till 8 a.m. So what you do is you just kind of look like you own the place, chin up, just walk very deliberately, and I walked right through. But to my credit, it was the last day, and everybody's probably a little bit wiped out. So I was able to get through unscathed. Got a little breakfast before things got started. Talked to Sam Pittman at 8:30 today. So this is the electronic room. They're breaking it all down right here. This was all kinds of graphics and stuff, and a big stage right there. I know they had 66 interviews in here because this is where they said they just concluded 66 interviews. So this is mostly like radio, TV. Although radio, we were just walking down Radio Row, so this is a lot of TV people right here. All right, back on. All right, we're recording, aren't we? Good. I didn't even look to see. All right, so Arkansas. It's always good to engage with Sam Pittman a little bit. He told me, he said when they walked in, we were going to go meet him for like 8:30 for local media press conference and stuff, and they come walking through, and I get up immediately, and Kyle says, "Hey, give us about 5 minutes to get ready." And Pittman looks at me and goes, "Sit your ass down, Trey," which drew a pretty good chuckle from everybody. For some reason, I said, like, you're the only guy left from your initial team this year, is one of the questions I asked, which, no, there's Hudson Clark, Eric Gregory was on that initial team, and Scott Fountain. I don't know what I was thinking, but I guess it was a little bit too early in the morning for me. So that was the first question I got in with a huge mistake, wrong information, which is a no-no. And Landon Jackson came again. The guy's a stud. So I only picked 3 guys on my All-SEC ballot. And that's kind of what you get when you pick a team to finish 13th in the SEC, just ahead of South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt. And, I mean, coming off of a 4-win season and just knowing what the SEC has, it's hard to predict them. But I will say we get this wrong every single year. Nobody picked Missouri to win 11 games last year. They went 6-6, so things can happen. We know so critical with this team, those first 3 games. And I'm not talking about UAPB and UAB and those schools, but I'm talking about, everybody knows, I'm talking about Oklahoma State. Returns 21 starters, 19 on offense and defense, both kickers. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of veteran experience to take in there. And Arkansas returns 13. They've got some guys who are veteran, but Oklahoma State's been in that system. We're really going to find out a lot about Arkansas in that game. I mean, everybody's looking to that game. Arkansas will say, we're focused on UAPB. Okay, come on. That's just kind of what you say. It's a little too dark here. So walk down a dark alley in this hotel. So, I could go outside. There's too many people out there. But, I mean, obviously that's a huge game with Oklahoma State and then Auburn and then Texas A&M. And that's, kind of one of the things that I was talking to Pittman about is just, I mean, who else in the country starts their season playing 5 games in 5 different locations? Nobody has to do that stuff. Arkansas' schedule just sets up so ridiculous. Nobody has to go through that. I'm not going to go through some of the other teams out there that, how Texas' schedule shapes up, or Missouri's or Ole Miss's, which it just starts off a lot better than Arkansas, and you're able to generate so much momentum just because it's built in for you. Those teams are going to start in the top 10, and they're going to be in the top 10 in week 7. Because of the way the schedule shapes up. Arkansas, I just don't feel like there's much in between for them. I feel like there's just such a potential to let go of the rope if you start off 0-3 in those big games. You cannot do that in this one. You cannot lose to Oklahoma State, Auburn, and Texas A&M consecutively. Now, having said that, I do buy into Sam Pittman's idea that the culture has changed. Now, we've heard that the last couple of years. There's been talk about culture issues each of the last couple of years at Arkansas. And, just the narrative that they ushered out the guys that were problems, and everything's hunky-dory now. We've heard that before. So is it true this time? I'm kind of leaning towards maybe it's a little more true this time. Just the vibe I get around the program. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to come out and win a bunch of games. I mean, last year they went 5-1 in 1-possession games. See, what were they? I mean, you know what they were. It was Alabama, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, BYU, LSU, all losses, and the only win was Florida in overtime. They've got to switch that. I mean, it's not like they were just getting their ass kicked, right, in those games. Now, they shouldn't have lost to BYU last year at home, but they came back and showed up and showed some fight against LSU, especially the first half. They battled Texas A&M. It wasn't a 1-possession game, but they showed up for that game. They didn't just let go of the rope. Played Alabama to within a score, Ole Miss to within a score. I mean, and then you get the Auburn game, and the only thing that I can explain that might have happened in that one, and I'm not saying they should have beaten Auburn or anything, but they shouldn't have got whipped 48-10 to an Auburn team that turned around the next week and lost by like 20 to New Mexico State. And then they turn around and play Alabama tough. Like, it's weird how teams get up and down and stuff, but maybe Arkansas wasn't as bad last year as what people think, like in terms of like just going to get smoked week in and week out. Now, they may lose as many games as they lost last year, but maybe they'll be competitive in them. And, it's something, but it's not wins ultimately. It's not going to save Sam Pittman's job by almost winning a bunch of games. They've got to win. And I think these players know it. Sam Pittman knows it. And he better know it. I'm sure he does. But he's made it pretty clear that he's not planning on going anywhere anytime soon. The idea that, he's going to get the program right this year and then retire and hand it off, I don't think that's what his plan is for this year. And if he doesn't get it right, then, he's probably not going to be here. I mean, he's almost certainly not going to be here. As he said, he was asked, one of the funniest responses he said was, who was it? I think it was Chris Hummer who asked him, who's with 24/7 Sports, who asked him, hey, you're on some of these hot seat lists and stuff. And he's like, I think I'm leading those hot seat lists. I think I make the hot seat list. So he was kind of joking around about it. But, yeah, I mean, he knows where he stands, and the players on the team know where he stands. So they've got to win, no question about it. Again, I picked 3 players on all SEC ballot. That's, again, what you get with a team you're not going to predict to win very much. I don't know that I've ever predicted just 3 players to be on an all-SEC ballot from Arkansas going into a season. Landon Jackson, obviously, 91 overall, EA Sports College Football. I went with Jalen Braxton. He was my 8th defensive back. I got to pick 8 defensive back. He was my 8th guy there. And I think Landon I had as my 2nd defensive end. And who else did I pick? Oh, Luke Hasz, of course. Luke Hasz was my number 1 tight end. I think he's just going to have a breakout year. And I think Arkansas has a chance to be really competitive in games. Now, so much depends on what Taylon Green does. But I like Taylon. I think that he has a lot of potential. I think he can be a guy that can win games for him and, possibly lose some. For some reason, I just think so much of Matt Jones when I see him, his running style and stuff. Demeanor's a little bit different than Matt, but just reminds me so much style-wise, I guess. And, he's really changed his body. He's dropped 11 pounds of fat, gained 10 pounds of muscle. That's quite significant. 10 pounds of muscles, that's a pretty good bit. 6'6", 230 or so, and can really run. Jaquindon Jackson in the backfield, who I just think is going to be a grind, workhorse, chip on his shoulder. And I asked Sam Pittman about it. I was like, this guy just seems like he has a chip on his shoulder. And I've talked about him before and some of the things that he says, like kind of always turns it around to the world's against me, no matter what question you ask. Hey, that was a nice touchdown catch. You didn't have a lot of touchdown catches, or you didn't have a lot of receptions last year. Yeah, people don't think I can catch. Stuff like that. You played through injuries last year. Yeah, people think I'm injury prone. And I was just talking about you being tough. So, I like the makeup of some of these guys. I feel like they got something to prove. I really like Andrew Armstrong. I think he's a leader. Love his personality. And, they got some other guys that have a chance to really step forward. Tyrone Broden, I think, could be a sleeper guy on this team. Isaiah Satania, we're waiting for him. We're waiting for you, Isaiah, to have that breakout. We know you can. I think the defensive line is a little bit underrated. Eric Gregory, possibly the most underrated player on the defense. I think they have pretty good depth on the defensive line. Getting Danny Salee, I think, was a big addition for them. But I think they're a little underrated depth. Linebacker, I just think you're hoping a lot. I think they've got some potential. I just think that you're maybe kind of hoping that things go really well at linebacker. And that's a little dangerous versus knowing. I mean, they lost so much production from last year, but they do have some talented players. Secondary, I kind of think it'll be similar to last year, and that's not a good thing because everything, I think, is just going to be better than it was last year. I think the middle, lower tier of the SEC is just going to be better than it was last season. So, offense, I know the offensive line is better, and who better to ask than the defensive lineman? And, I don't think Landon Jackson is just going to give me lip service on that, but I asked him, like, hey, nobody knows better than you. Are they better? Yeah, he thinks they're a lot better. I do too. I mean, I think they got some really good quality additions. Sam Pittman makes a great point about a guy like Patrick Kudus just really losing his confidence last year. And, he was a guy that I'd said all season leading up that, maybe he's a year away. Andrew Chamblee, I thought the same thing, who's not here anymore. Maybe that guy's a year away from being what he needs to be on this level. And but I think they got some good additions there. I like the running back, Jaquindon. I'm really high on Braylon Russell. I think he could really grow into maybe a lead back before his career is over, maybe next year, and play a huge role for him this year. If not, take the lead. We've seen freshmen do that before. That's not unheard of, but he brings a lot of power, really surprising speed and quickness for a guy that size, goes about 250. Wide receiver, I don't know that, Andrew Armstrong's probably the closest thing to you would say, like, this guy is he is a proven SEC wide receiver. He had 50 catches last year. Is he an NFL guy? I don't know. If he is, then it's on the back end, and there are so many teams in this conference that have multiple NFL wide receivers on their roster. So, that's an area where I say, yeah, they've got some steady guys, but do they have game breakers? Luke has. I mean, you throw him in there. I think Varkey's Gums is a guy that is really going to have a good year for him. As far as making a jump from where they were last year to this year, as far as returning guys, he may have the biggest jump out of anybody. So, anyway, kicking game's a little bit of a concern for me. You're replacing your kicker, your punter, and your kicker was Cam Little. That's a huge shoe to fill, no pun intended. All right, I'm just kind of pacing around, but I got to get to the airport. Darinoka. All right, everybody. That's it. That's this version of the Walk and Talk. We're going to catch an Uber to the airport. Yes, I flew. I know I should have drove. I know it's a 5.5 hour drive, but I just rationed it in my head that I could skip out on the hotel room and torture myself, get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, make a 5 o'clock flight, and then get out of here this evening without paying for a hotel room, without packing any luggage. It sounded pretty sweet. I'm a little wiped out, but I'm ready to get back home. See all you guys. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me for this edition of the Walk and Talk. I hope it was a good one. It never feels like they're any good when I'm done with them, and everybody's like, when I get done, they're like, oh, that was a great Walk and Talk. So hopefully that's the case here. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, and we'll catch you next time.